ESPC25. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Well, good to be old timers at the event, isn't it?
Wow. Don't use those. I'm kidding. No, it's fine. It's good to be back. This is a great conference, and why not come back over and over again if they will have me?
Well, exactly. And I think there's so many great topics here, and technology. I think one conversation point this week has been how much is changing and evolving. You know, we had when this started in 2011, we were really at the beginning of the move to the cloud.
It was,
a lot of those. And the struggles of that. And now here we are going through another cycle with the move to AI and organizations saying,
that's
what
important.
do we need to do?
That is definitely important. And interesting that you brought it up that way. It's almost like that was planned. But because
almost like we talked about this before we started.
Yeah, right. Because here I am again at ESPC talking again about cloud architecture. Yeah. Because while AI is great and we're using it, that's not the issue. The issue is that we have a lot of business that's running on just cloud stuff, right? Or just cloud stuff. As we all know, AI doesn't exist without cloud.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. Well, and this wasn't planned, so I'm going to throw this at you too. It's interesting to still understand how many organizations are in hybrid and still on-prem. The number of environments that are out there.
So many, and they
still
have
net new on-prem being installed.
Hundreds and hundreds of applications in the migration path going to be migrated soonish. There are lots of companies doing that still, or maybe not until now, or they're doing it now first, right? Yep. There were some first movers a long time ago, many years, but now there are still companies that are doing the large migrations into cloud.
Yep. I know you had a session about that. Like,
I did.
So for people that weren't able to catch the session, kind of what was the gist of that? What do people need to know about this topic?
The gist of it is that my session description didn't match my content, but that's a different conversation. But what the session that I did deliver was about the things that allows you to go from our cloud is all right to our cloud is great. What are the challenges on that path? You all want to be at the great place, right? Everybody, believed the promise it was going to be, faster and cheaper and more secure and all the things that it was going to be. And some of those, to some extent, your applications are, but they're not necessarily always great. I thought it'd be, I thought it'd be cheap, or we were told that it was going to be cheap, but I thought it was going to be cheaper than this.
Well, there's a problem in the SharePoint migration space for years and years. This idea of a lift and shift. I'm sure you have similar phrasing that you use, where somebody says they go in there and they develop and they might have a performant platform. They move it to the cloud, but they lift and shift. They basically just take it for the way that it was built for on-prem, move it to the cloud, and then are surprised that it's not optimized.
It's not optimized, exactly. So I have a technical mid-section of my talk where I talk specifically about such things, about how to really move, rather modernize your application rather than moving, lifting, and shifting it, right? Because that's not quite enough to get me excited, lifting and shifting a server from the ground and putting it in another hosting environment, which is the cloud. That's not going to get me excited. But what is going to get me excited is to re-architect it and repurpose the application to run in an environment that has completely different set of functionalities that you never had before. Your application wasn't built for that environment. So how do I rebuild it or repurpose it, whatever, to keep the business logic, but make sure that it runs scalably, optimized, and all the things in the cloud? How do I do that?
Do you find common mistakes that companies make with that?
Yeah, lots.
Are there commonalities?
Oh yeah, there are lots of commonalities. It's interesting that there is a function in Azure for auto scaling an application. So you find a metric that you need to auto scale on, and when maybe there's when there are many requests, give me more instances of the application. It's going to cost me more, but I will service the customers, right? So the autoscaler will then, when there are fewer requests, it will scale in again and remove instances and save you money, right? Autoscaling, kind of a run-of-the-mill, kind of a basic fundamental feature of the cloud, and one of the promises, right? Pay per use. Only pay for as much as you are using. That's a core basic promise of the cloud. And isn't it interesting, though, that there are very, very few who actually do implement it in reality? That's a very rare occurrence to see anyone implement autoscaling.
But if you have a poorly designed system that's not using it in the right way, it could be very expensive. And I think that's part of the lift and
That's
shift
part.
problem. Again, I'll go back with as a SharePoint guy.
Yep.
I would say that they would move like their on-prem to the cloud,
Yep.
and then be shocked at the first bill
Yeah.
because it wasn't
They're,
designed. Wasn't
they're using
architected.
the new cloud in the old way. So
Right.
my talk is also about strategy. I talk a lot about how to establish a strategy that gives you the right priorities within the organization, so that the engineers actually know what is more important. Is it security? Is it compliancy? Is it cost? Because you can't get very cheap and very compliant at the same time, for example. It's not really technically going to work.
Right.
But I also talk about the gap there, which is the skilling piece, which is so important and so undervalued as an issue. People are like, yeah, we don't have the the correctly skilled people, and they don't have enough cloud experience. We maybe also don't, it's not availability. There's low availability on the true experts out there that we can hire and get into our company. So we are going to the cloud kind of, we're going to make it work, right? We're engineers, so we're going to figure it out. It's going to work. Functionally, yes. When I turn it on, it's not going to smoke, right?
Right.
But is it going to be great? Probably not, because you don't have the skills to make it great. You know what I mean?
I do.
That's a huge challenge,
Right.
and like a deficit out there, right? You have great engineers, but they don't have enough mileage yet in running things in the cloud.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so important. Like you can bring out an outside expert in, and I know you do a lot of that kind of consulting.
Well,
You come in and
now
help
I'm
do that
speaking.
thing.
Now I'm speaking my own case.
Right. But no, I know. But you then need to also train people to be able to go in and
Absolutely.
optimize continue this. So there's
So important.
The ongoing management.
And an underestimated issue is also the resistance to change. You have maybe super skilled engineers, and I want to be really respectful about these people, right? They've been working maybe in the company 25 years. They're good skilled engineers. They've been running these applications and or whatever infrastructure, taking care of things for the company on the IT side for like decades, right? Maybe closing in on retirement. Maybe I have 5 more years or something, and then I'm going to retire. All of a sudden, business comes and says, hey, you know what, engineers? Guess what? We bought you cloud. You're now going to use cloud. And you'll get a good number, or at least there will be a few at least. There will be some that are not keen to follow along. And you want to enable them. You want to ensure that they see a path into this cloud where they are included. So maybe they don't love retraining, but if at least they're offered a path forward, right? You can get we'll get into some trainers, and we'll help you, get comfortable in this new environment. The resistance to change.
It's just interesting, Magnus, that I think from an observer standpoint,
Yeah.
like looking at this, we were having these kinds of conversations with the move to the cloud. Again, 14 years ago,
Indeed.
started having these conversations in the Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember the very last Tech Ed before it became Ignite was held in Chicago.
Yeah.
Were you at that one?
No, not the
big
Chicago one. Not,
Okay.
I was.
So
no.
that last one,
Yeah.
or maybe that was the first Ignite. Anyway, that last one in Chicago, where it was about the move to the cloud, and we had a lot of these conversations. I think a lot of the messaging was, hey, look, the people that have that old school, that worked in a NOC, that have that classic networking experience and manage and maintain those servers, like you're needed. We need that experience.
Exactly.
That knowledge
You don't want them
come
to like
forward.
go elsewhere or retire early or something, and not like they will take all their experience and knowledge with them when they leave, or they will not want to be in your cloud, right? So you have to position it well to include like everyone, right? And make sure that they want to be there. Because if you do have, let's pretend that you had a magic wand, right? And you magically had enough external experts, you magically had enough skills among your people in the company. Wouldn't you then be able to solve governance, auto-scaling, cost control, compliancy, and the other things that are listed as the clear challenges, the clear issues that we have in front of us that prevents us from taking our good cloud to a great cloud? You would be able to solve them if you had the crew.
But that's like 3 different problems.
Yeah.
There's understaffing, which
Yes.
is a realist.
Sure.
There's the training of the staff that
Yes.
you have, whether in the people out there.
Indeed.
And then there's the leadership gap, that not understanding that those two pieces need to be in place.
See, this man knows. You are correct, sir. Yes. So the strategy thing I talked about, like there is a clear strategy. We're going to the cloud because we need to save money. It's really important. Okay, now we know everything we do has to be cost optimized. That is number 1, right? How do we lead with that? How do we make the cost optimization our most important story? Because then, down the line, a new customer comes in perhaps, and they are asking suddenly, your application that you want me to buy, is it compliant with X, Y, and Z, so-and-so, ISO something, right? Is it compliant with this? And then the sales people go to the engineers and go like, are we compliant with so-and-so? And the engineers go, what now? And all of a sudden, that maybe is really important because that business may be really important to you. You want that customer. And now compliancy goes from being meh, being I don't know, to being like, now it's number one. Well, if compliancy is number one, cost can't be number one.
Right.
So the strategy does change. And if it does, then rewrite the strategy document, right? Aligned with the business requirements. We need compliancy. And then communicate it. This is nuts, right? You mean you write a strategy and then you tell people about it? Who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Well, I was going to ask kind of like my last question was about like 3 things to go and do. Like, what are the actions from that?
Sure.
You kind of just
I kind of did. Yeah, definitely. Make sure that you have a strategy which is business aligned,
right?
And then aligned with your IT as well. And about I have some numbers in my talk. More than half of companies can report that they feel that they don't have a properly aligned cloud strategy.
Yeah.
Wow, right? So we're just like doing IT things, but except in the cloud now.
Right. I think that number is probably low. There's probably others that think they have it there, but it might be on paper, but it might not be as real as they
exactly.
think, but
And then understand the responsibilities that you have. Maybe your responsibility is compliance, your responsibility is cost control, what is. Understand these responsibilities and try to quantify them properly so you have a number. Like how low cost or how high is the compliancy? What is it that we're talking about specifically, so we can go towards a goal, and then of course apply rigorous training and understand that your people will be excited if you include them in your plan.
Excellent. It's just that easy.
It's just that easy. Yeah. Wow.
Magnus, as always, and thank you so much. Again, you've been such a strong part of this community, the ESPC community.
Thank you.
If you want to find out more about it, of course, you've got articles and recordings and things that are out on. So make sure you register on the ESPC website. But thanks again, and hopefully we'll see each other next year at ESPC 26
I'd love to.
in Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, I'd love to. Thanks.